Hello again and welcome back everybody. Boyd here with you. Well, I'm busy building another model here on the bench, and this time it's the 148 scale Hawk Mark 9 from Space 1999. This kit has just been put out by MPC Round 2, and they advertise it as being in 148 scale. It's not marked that way on the box, but their promotional material that they put out in a couple of their videos and stuff like that, they're claiming that it's a 148 and it's supposed to be in the same scale as the 22-inch Eagle. Now, looking at the size of this model, when I took it out of the box, I was a little bit disappointed. It does say that it's 15 inches long, but it's definitely not, in my opinion, it's not quite the same scale as the Eagle. It's a little bit smaller. The main way I could tell is that the Eagle pilots that come with the Eagle kit will definitely not fit inside of this forward cockpit on this model. They wouldn't even come close. So this is a slight bit undersized. I'm not sure where they got the size comparison from. You know, if they were looking at studio models and things like that, the studio model oftentimes is built, you know, even if it's supposed to be the same size as another ship, sometimes they're not. You know, you have a lot of Star Trek ships that were like that when they built those. They were never intended to be side by side or whatever. They shot them individually, and you really can't tell what scale it is. So that might be, you know, where part of that came from. But it's a nice little kit. The kit itself reminds me of, you know, sort of the kits from the 1980s or 1990s. It's not on the same par as like a Bondi kit where, you know, everything fits perfectly and, you know, everything comes off the sprues really perfectly. With this kit, I had a good bit of flash on some of the parts. Some of the parts, the way that they're attached to the sprues makes it a little bit difficult to get them off of the sprue without, you know, you have to be really careful not to clip part of the part. They have some of the sprue extending into the back side of some of the parts that you have to trim off after you get the part off of there and things like that. So it kind of reminded me of some of those older type kits as far as how it's been going together so far. It's not a particularly high parts count kit. I'll kind of show you in the instructions here that when you start building it, you're already getting into the main structures right off the bat. By the time you're into the second page, you pretty much got the entire main structure of the model built. You've got just these two long pieces that make up the entire fuselage and the cockpit, as you can see there. I do like the fact that they give you this little part here as an insert, so that makes it easier to paint the front end here, because all I did was paint the orange on the front and then put this in afterwards, and then just had to do a little bit of putty work on the sides. The seam quality on this model is about average, I would say. There were some pretty sizable gaps on it here and there. The gaps on the forward part of the cockpit were pretty noticeable, and some of the gaps on the sides of these sort of engine pods here in the back were a little bit noticeable. You know, a little bit of putty and they cleaned right up, no big deal. I've been building models since the 70s and have dealt with plenty of AMT and, you know, some of the old kits that were used to that. So if you're used to building models, it's not going to be a bother at all. So I don't really want to bash the kit or anything like that, but if you're a Bondi model kit builder mainly, this kit's going to give you a little bit more work than you're used to, but it'll clean up, and you can, as you can see, you know, after it's all put together and everything's been, you know, you start adding all the detail, it turns out to be a really interesting model, and it's a really neat design. This ship first appeared in the season 1 episode of Space 1999 called War Games, and the Alpha Moon Base was attacked by a squadron of these. They don't really explain to you where the ship comes from, other than saying that that they're using, you know, Earth type weaponry, the same type of weaponry that they have. So they're implying that, you know, the our people on Moonbase Alpha have, you know, or at least Earth had a similar ship to this, or the exact same ship. So it's kind of interesting how they get into all that, but they never really explain like why the aliens have it or anything. It just looked really cool on the screen. Now, you only ever get to see this model in flight, where it's flying in space, so there's kind of no explanation of how it lands or anything, because there's no landing gear on this. Now, they could have had some idea if it had some, you know, retractable legs that pop out or something like that. But yeah, you're building this strictly in flight, unless you kind of, you know, came up with your own idea and did some scratch building for some landing gear or something like that. Now, this version that we see here is from the original episode War Games, but I believe this ship appears again later in a couple episodes maybe, and it was all white instead of having this orange, kind of two-tone orange and white combination, which I think looks pretty neat, and it makes the ship kind of stand out. The big thing about this kit, though, is that you're going to be putting on 150 plus decals. You can see here I've been working on this. I've already got a good several hours of putting decals on, which make up a lot of the markings that go on this model. You can see up there on the upper frame and around the engine pods and everything. All these little details here are not painted on. These are all decals. And it's really tedious work because you're putting on these super tiny decals. Round 2 has gone to this method they've been using a while now, where you've got all the decal placement on the sides of the box. And I'm kind of hit and miss on this. I kind of miss the old, you know, straight up decal sheet that just shows you where everything is and you can lay it out on your bench. You know, I don't like to cut these model boxes up, but you know, what you're meant to do is cut these up and have these laying out. I do like the full color pictures. That kind of helps a little bit, but I'm kind of back and forth on that whole thing. I just soon go back to the old included decal instruction sheet that I could lay down on my bench. I don't really need to have the color picture. It's nice to have, though. So I've been just going around now. I haven't finished adding all the detail on this. I've stopped putting some of the framework and stuff on it because it's going to be easier, especially on the bottom side, to put a lot of these decals down that they want you to put in a certain place. And then there's you know, there's fuel lines and tubing and stuff that goes over top of it. So I'm going to be doing that at the very end. So I just wanted to give you guys a look at where I'm at so far. This is probably about 4 or 5 hours worth of work besides the painting as far as the actual assembly goes. So you can probably build this model over a weekend if you really wanted to. If you want to add lighting or something to it, you know, be a little bit longer. It fits pretty nicely on the base that it comes with. The rod that holds the model up, I would have preferred that to have been a little bit taller so you could get a little easier look at the bottom of the ship, because there's a lot of detail that goes onto the bottom of it as well. But I can always, you know, add something or fix up my own base later on. This is just a nice little base to start with, and it makes a good little platform to do your work on the model, because you can swivel it all around and, you know, work on it and get to everything. We did some nice work with our metallic colors here on the engine nozzles. This is all craft acrylic paint. I just used Delta Ceram Coat White for the fuselage, and the orange color there. I just mixed myself, mixing orange and red Delta Ceram Coat craft paint together till I got the orange color. And then some of the other accent colors here I just mixed up myself to match what the box art showed, this kind of dark gray here and a couple other things. I tried to get pretty close to the color of the decals. Some of the decals are already done in orange for you, and I try to get pretty close to some of those, so it kind of all tied together. But yeah, all in all, it's not a bad kit, you guys. I would definitely recommend it if you're a Space 1999 fan, but just, you might be a little disappointed if you think it's exactly in the same scale as the Eagle, or you know, that it's going to be a super high detail, you know, multi-parts count kit where you're building everything. But you know, the detail on it is decent enough, and it looks really interesting when it's all starting to come together. So I am not disappointed at all. I think it's a nice little kit, and it'll look really great on the shelf when it's done. So what I'm going to do here now, you guys, is I'm going to go in and I'm going to start putting the rest of these decals down. I've probably got a good couple hours worth of work to do here, because you've got to, like I said, get down here and look at every single one. And there are just tons of tiny little markings and all kinds of little stuff that needs to go on yet. And then I've got the rest of the parts over here ready to go. We've got some engine nozzles that go on the bottom, and mostly you can see a bunch of fuel lines and stuff like that, little framework. There's this kind of little framework that goes here on the bottom still. So I'm just kind of holding off putting that on until I get all the decal work done. But that's where we are so far on this one, you guys. It's a interesting little kit, and I'm just, you know, I'm really happy that they came out with a bigger version of this. It's better than nothing, and I really think it's going to turn out nice in the end when we're done here. So there you have it, guys. I'll be back here in just a couple seconds and show you the model pretty much all finished up, I think. So we'll be right back with that. All right, you guys. Well, I'm back with you after about an hour and a half of finishing up my little decal work there. It was a little bit tedious, like I said, but it's all worth it in the end. It adds a lot of nice little detail onto the model. Like I said, you're probably going to spend more time on the decal work than actually building and painting this, but that's all right. It all works out in the end, and it adds some nice flair to the model, and, you know, gives you a little bit more to look at. So it all worked out really good. The model itself went together great. After I finished the decals, I put all the rest of the small little detail parts on, and you can see we've got all of our little fuel lines and framework and everything. There's a lot going on there for a small model. It looks really good. I went ahead and weathered this a little bit. I did a little bit of a light wash on it. Then I put in a few streaks here and there. I kind of like to make these look a little bit used. I also thought the white looked a little bit too stark, you know, just all by itself, a little bit too bright. And so we kind of, you know, livened it up a little bit. Here's a look at the bottom, all the little cool stuff that's going on down there. You got all the nice little framework and fuel lines and extra lifting engines and some weaponry and some cool looking detail there. And we got the engines all painted up real nice here. You know, these, according to the box art and some pictures I took or looked at of the studio model, the engine bells on this are quite a bit different than they are on the Eagle, for example. They're a little bit more toned down, a little more dull looking. And I added a little bit of bronze on these to give them kind of a, you know, a burned in look, if you want to say that. And I think they look pretty nice. But yeah, it's a really cool little kit. I painted up the little base here, kind of to match the box art there of the planet with the clouds and a, you know, purple and blue shape-shifting color there, which looks pretty cool. And then I've got it on this little swivel, so you can see, you can pose the model in different angles, you know, have it banking and diving or climbing or whatever you want to do. I think that adds a little something extra to it, which is nice. So yeah, overall, this is a really nice kit, you guys. And like I said, you can build this in a weekend, no problem. And it's just nice to have an actual production version of this kit instead of the old resin kits that were out there. It's quite a bit of an improvement over those. I wanted to bring in the 22-inch Eagle here for a size comparison so you guys can kind of see what they look like together. This is where I think that the scale of this Hawk is off a little bit. I think it's just a little bit too small. And the main reason I say that is that the figures that are in the cockpit of the Eagle, the pilot and the co-pilot, they definitely will not fit in this cockpit up here. They're way too big. So there's something off a little bit. And, you know, granted that the Hawk should be smaller in some way because it's a, you know, it's a fighter type design or whatever, more of an attack vehicle, where the Eagle is more of a freighter, you know, kind of workhorse vehicle. But, you know, they're not exactly quite the same. So this will just give you an idea if you're thinking about getting one and how it'll look if you have the Eagle. They still look pretty nice, you know, next to each other and everything. And if you're a Space 1999 fan, it still looks really great. So no real complaints there. But again, you know, this was a really fun kit to build. And I hope you guys will go out and grab one. They just came out, so they should be easy to get. They don't cost that much, and it won't take you that much time to build it. So that's a wrap for this one, you guys. We're going to close off here with, you know, the usual, a couple of pictures of this in low light at the end. And then I'll be back probably midweek or so and start on a new project. I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to do yet. Maybe some sci-fi, maybe some automotive. But I've got the 1/350 scale World War II USS Enterprise aircraft carrier that my good friend Henry Schmidt sent me a long time ago. And I'm planning on building that one soon. So that might be what we do, guys. We'll just have to wait and see. I'll take a look at what I've got for supplies and everything, but I think I should have everything I need to get that one started. I've been wanting to build that one for quite a while. It's a really nice kit, and it'll look really great next to a 1/350 TOS Enterprise, kind of little tribute there. So we'll see what we come up with in the next few days, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little quick build video of this model. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was definitely worth it, and I'm glad I got it. We'll see you next time, everybody, and until we do, take care and happy modeling out there, everybody.